Hi guys, so this is just a really quick video just to do with becoming a mentor. So I did do this training for the All-Stars, lots and lots of people logged onto that webinar, made it really successful. Unfortunately the webinar didn't record, so I'm having to do it again. So obviously there's loads and loads of training available to us when we first sign up, especially belonging to the All-Stars team, with all the extra training that gets put on for us by Abby and Co. But one of the things that I couldn't find was a lot of information about the transition between becoming a sole business owner and running a primarily retail business to mentoring other people to do the same. So you've started off possibly building a business around your current day job, your family commitments and your retail customers. You've spent the time prospecting and now you've got a recruit that can bring a whole new aspect to the business, and it can feel a little bit daunting. So before we start, I know it's traditional to do the thank yous at the end, but when it comes to putting this presentation together, and because there's such a vast topic and everyone's got their own little way of doing things, I thought it'd be really beneficial to get the opinions and top tips of other business leaders within our team. So with that in mind, I'd like to say thank you to these lovely ladies for sharing their hints and tips with me and insights into what they think makes a good mentor. And I popped their photos on there for anyone living under a rock who doesn't know who they are, because I've never really been one to take credit for someone else's work. So if I've taken or used something they've told me quite directly, I've popped a little reference or a photo of them on that slide as we go through. So are we ready isn't something that I even really thought about until Daria mentioned it in a quick conversation we had. I think it's actually a really valid point and possibly something I'm guilty of overlooking myself. So we hear a lot of things about these super successful starters that go on to do 2 or 3 recruits within their first month. Those people might even then sign people up. And of course, this is massively down to personal choice, because for some people, especially those raring to go and hoping to follow the 5-month to manager plan, that would be an amazing start. But I found Daria's point really interesting in that if you've not allowed yourself time to build up a sustainable retail business, you could find yourself flying to supervisor and then ending up with a bit of a flop. After all, this business relies on the sale and profit of physical products being sold. So the same consideration needs to be given as to whether you've given yourself enough time to understand the marketing plan, whether you've completed all the relevant training, got your own Facebook right, and really got to grips with the products you're going to be selling. So one of the things that Jane Leach is really renowned for saying is monkey see, monkey do, in that you need to be actively showing your team how to act in the business, which is a massive part of mentoring that we'll come on to later. But it is common sense when you stop and think about it. How can you expect your team member to be doing all those things right if you've not physically been doing it long enough to have done them yourself? So another thing that falls into this category is if you think you're struggling to find the time to contact your 5 to 10 prospects a day, as well as running a retail side of the business, attending your one-to-ones and BPs, etc., it's worth some serious consideration as to whether you'll have the time to continue doing all of those things, as well as helping and mentoring your own team members. So it's not meant in any way to put anybody off. And hopefully at the end of this training, you'll all feel thoroughly equipped to excel at mentoring. But are you ready is definitely something to consider. Assume you are all ready to make that transition. You've read GoPro, you've watched all the recruitment training, you've done Emma Cooper's recruitment training, and you've managed to recruit your first team. So congratulations. And the first really obvious thing to say is that the things that we all already know. So as Abby's mentioned in lots and lots of training and is in all of Jane Leach's training and the QLS training, is duplication. So duplication is so important. And I did see a link on September Success Day. There's a little bit that Emma Cooper said. I can't run it on here. It works on the webinar because I can flick to YouTube and play it and everyone can see. I'm just not techno enough to work out how to embed it into this PowerPoint. But I'll put the link underneath so you can all quickly watch it. And the gist of what Emma's saying there is that we all start with the same box and access to the same training materials. Apart from that, the only thing that differs might be our upline and the person that we are ourselves. So I think that's why people like Abby and Jane have shown us how they do their very first one-to-one and their planning meeting with a new recruit, and that we will then go on to do the same thing with our new prospects, and so on and so forth, which is why we say duplication is so important. So you need to make sure you get the beginning right and there'll be a link also underneath this video to Abby's training about doing a one-to-one with a new recruit. And hand in hand with duplication comes another really obvious but really important part to being a mentor, which is to lead by example. So it runs the risk of sounding really cliche, but it's often quite easily overlooked. So first of all to think about is something that Jenna showed me, and that's the 80-20 rule. And it can be really easy to deviate from this, especially as your team grows, but as a general rule, you need to try and stick to running your business with 80% focused on your own activity and 20% focused on that of your team members and their business. So at first this might seem like slightly unfavourable odds for someone that's trying to be a team leader and build a large successful team, but it's another one of those examples of common sense that just need to be stopped and thought about. So you can't expect your team to be retailing, prospecting and recruiting if they don't see you doing the same. But if you don't get that 80-20 balance right, you could find yourself spending too much time mentoring and helping your team, and as a result find that come the month end, you've neglected your own business. And that goes hand in hand with the next point. Again, pretty obvious, but being 4 case credit active is essential. So there's no point explaining the importance of being 4 case credit active to your team, the fact that that's a fundamental business standard and that it's necessary to qualify for all of the incentives that will ever be put in front of you. It doesn't matter how much your wider team is doing, what counts is your personal 4 case credit. And there's no point in stressing that to your team if they can probably gauge from your own activity that you're not 4 case credit active. Being perfectly honest, no one likes a hypocrite, and that's what that would make you. Being active on team pages, whether that's by commenting or popping useful tips or things, will also show your team as well as your current prospects that you are an active business leader. So I know when I first started and I looked on All Stars and the training pod, etc., the business presentations and the training was all done by the same kind of people. The same people were posting their team recognition or helpful documents they'd made for their team, and it gave you the impression of who the big contenders were and the leaders within our business. And to be perfectly honest, there have been a couple of occasions where maybe months or so afterwards I've been in conversation with those people and been genuinely surprised by where they actually were within the marketing plan, and how few team members they did actually have. And all that goes to show is that their persona and the impression they were giving far exceeded maybe what was going on behind the scenes. But categorically I can say that those people that were doing that when I started are now the high flyers, and they are the people that have gone through the ranks in the last couple of months, and their promotions have really, really soared. So it goes to show how powerful the perception of what you're doing is. Another really useful tool is showing others how to mentor, which sounds really obvious, but in this regards what I mean is it can be a really good thing to take a new or existing team member to another team member's launch, or to a one-to-one that you're having with either a prospect or a new team member. So as well as making sure they see exactly what it is we're asking them to duplicate, it's also another really useful thing Jenna pointed out was the confidence boost this will give your team member. They've actually seen you do what it is that you're telling them to do. And it can be really inspiring if they've gone on to see somebody sign up at the end of a one-to-one. It can give them a real confidence boost. So a few more points on leading from the front, and the first few things that Lulu mentioned to me was that being a business person. So this sounds really quite a rounded statement, and it encompasses everything that we're going to talk about, but it also brings to my mind anyway the importance of professionalism. So if you want to be taken seriously, you need to look and act professional when it comes to your forever business. So this can be branding, it can be getting your Facebook right, your business cards, your business page, and just being courteous, especially to other multi-level marketing establishments out there. So I personally see a lot of, for what can only be described as bitching, between sort of ourselves, Juice Plus, Unique, all of those kind of people are sort of, oh well, I joined this because it's better. It's really not professional, and you wouldn't do it in any other business. I think if we want network marketing to be taken seriously as a serious career, which it is, then we need to start acting like serious career women and men. Obviously this is something I could probably do a whole webinar on, but we'll just leave it like that and just say that you need to be really mindful. Getting your Facebook right is another really basic one, but you'll be surprised how many people have gone on to recruit people and their Facebooks are completely wrong themselves. So that person is going to look at your Facebook and do what you're doing, and if you're not doing it right, they won't be doing it right either, and that's where duplication can go really, really wrong. So not only do you now have customers looking at your Facebook, you have prospects looking at your Facebook, but you also have your team, your existing team members looking at your Facebook, watching what you're doing and taking a lead from you. So make sure you're compliant is a really big one, and make sure you're showing that you are meeting with other team members, that you are showing the products. So there's no point filling your Facebook with pages and pages full of inspirational quotes. That's not doing anything. They're really important, and they can sort of catch people's eye and they can get people to comment and engage in your page. But if that's all your page is, it wouldn't matter whether you were a nail technician, a forever business owner, or a stay-at-home mum. If your page is full of quotes, no one knows what you're doing. And attend events. So all the way through our upline, from Abby to Jane Leach and Emma Cooper, they've all stressed the importance of being at events, whether they're training or success days. Obviously, sometimes you'll all have genuine reasons why you can't attend, but it goes without saying to be a physical presence as you can. So duplication and leading by example are two of the really obvious parts of being a mentor. And what I've got now are a few top tips or desirable qualities really to think about when mentoring. So some are ones I've just put together myself from personal experience within Forever, and also other workplaces. And some have been sort of cropped up in conversation or training from other business owners. Some of them have come from external sources, so network marketing, books and websites. And the first really, really important thing to say when mentoring is to get that person started straight away. So don't wait. If you've got that person and after, days, weeks, months even of prospecting that person, they've agreed to join the business and they've brought that business box. So they've spent the 2 or 3 minutes it took to fill that form in, they've pressed, accept, and they are from that very moment a forever living business owner. Don't wait for their business box to fall in their lap. The time from doing that to their business box coming can be make or break. So what I always try and do is keep a spare manager book. So the 5 months to manager books are available to buy on your Forever Business store. I always keep a copy of that, and I do this because Abby did it with me. So if Abby did it with me and I've done it, I hope that my team will also go on to do it with every single person they recruit. So keep a spare copy of that manager book. There's also a PDF downloadable version, so that if you've got prospects that perhaps aren't local to you, or if you just can't sort of connect your diaries together, even if you are local, you can send PDF versions of the first few pages that are really important to get that person started. So don't wait. Sit down with them, because they don't need their box to go through why they've joined Forever, what their short-term and long-term goals are. They don't need their box to sort out how they're going to start sort of talking to people about the products in the business. You can send them information about specific products. They don't need their box to book a launch, so to organise when and where they're going to do their launch and start inviting people. They don't need their box to do any of those things, so don't wait. Especially at month end, if people are joining, with everything that goes on in terms of orders, there could be quite a long wait between that person signing up and getting their box. If you do nothing with them between that time, it's really simple for that vision and that drive that they had when they got to that point of, yes, I want to be a business owner, and then nothing happens. So don't wait. Give your new downline brochures and samples. So I've done this with a lot of people before they've even bought a box. So I've given them samples and I've given them brochures, samples so they can go away and try the products themselves. And in doing that, they often sort of come in contact with 2 or 3 people whilst they're doing it. Say their mum pops round and sees those samples, that generates a conversation. That person is already building up a retail base, and that's what you want them to be doing. Give them brochures and samples so that once they've made that decision to buy the box, they've already got some brochures and samples. And do their first planning meeting. So like I say, don't wait until they've got their box. What are you waiting for? What do you need those products for? Let them do their first planning meeting so that when their box comes through the post, they know exactly what they're meant to do with it. And this will keep their enthusiasm. And get those orders coming in and launches booked. So my most recent team member had got an order of over 1 case credit before their box arrived. And that's because they'd made the decision to become a business owner. They'd personally got really excited about it. They were a really driven person. And hopefully, I'd backed them up a little bit, made them excited, and told them exactly what it was they needed to be doing. So I know we had a one-to-one before their business box arrived, which meant that by the time their business box arrived, they knew to take a picture of themselves with that box, post it on Facebook so people could start watching their forever journey, which is really essential to the business building side of it. And from a retail point of view, I sent over loads and loads and loads of pictures of the products downloaded from Forever, so that they'd got sort of compliant photos, adverts. I'd sent them PDF documents of all the products so that they could look through them and start sort of targeting which people they thought would suit which products. The Clean 9 brochures and leaflets. And that person then went on to have orders of over 1 case credit before their box had even landed on their doorstep. So what a fantastic start, and why would you not want that for every single person that joins? And hopefully that person, when they get their first recruit, I know they're going to do the same, because they will know from experience how much it doesn't matter when you get your box to just get it and go. And that's, like I say, get their story out there. So as soon as their box comes through the post, up was that photo of their box and this new beginning that they were going to have. And that will generate interest. People are nosy. It will generate customers, get their launch sorted. So yeah, get started straight away. And these are a couple rundown of some desirable qualities of a good mentor and how we would apply them to our business. So number 1, be accessible. Again, it seems really obvious, but it's not always as easy as it sounds. Going back to what was said at the beginning about being ready, lots of us have a job that we run alongside our business. Some of us are parents or carers. And between those commitments and trying to maintain an 80-20 focus on your own business, it will be easy to find fitting in the time to effectively manage all of your team as it grows and grows. So it's really important that your weekly and monthly business plans include time for your team, so that you know you've already allocated that time. Let people know quickly if you can't reply to a message. I find voice messages really, really good, because you can just quickly record a message. And always be accessible and approachable. So it also means building a relationship with your team members where they know they can ask you for help. So it's that age-old no question is a stupid question. On a side note, it is important not to let yourself go too far in the other direction. You're just a sponsor. You're not a guidance counsellor. So it can be hard if you were already sort of friends with that person. Obviously, you will still be having a chit-chat about what things are going well and what things are going really bad for that person on a personal life side of things. Well, it's something that I know I've been guilty of doing myself, and it's only when Abby popped up a video, you might remember from a couple of months back, about the amount of messages that she was getting that was just about excuses. So I've not had time to do this, I've not been able to do that. I've been poorly, my kids have been poorly, my car's broke, I've lost my job, all those kind of things. In any other business, you wouldn't do that to your manager. So you wouldn't say that you'd not had time to stock the shelves in the shop because your car had broken, your kids had been ill, or any of those things. You just wouldn't do it. So I think it's really weird from a network marketing point of view that we think it's okay to bombard our sponsor with those kind of excuses. And I'm not saying they're not valid excuses. I know from personal experience, I spent the last 2 months trying to organise a wedding with 2 very, very poorly children. I'm not saying they're excuses in a nasty way. I'm just saying that you need to protect your own mindset when you've got your own team, and be careful that you don't become overwhelmed and too involved in the things and the reasons that people will send to you. From a business point of view, if they're struggling with prospecting, and if they're struggling with retailing, if they're struggling with knowledge of a product, you can help. You can proactively do something about those things. You need to make sure that you don't get too overly involved in people's personal problems and time management things, unless it's something you can help. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a white coat, and not a good white coat either. You can direct them to The Secret. You can help them with mindset training and things like that. Obviously, Dari has now set up that fantastic group for us all to use as well. So just bear those things in mind. Number 2 is be encouraging. So we should all be aware of the power of mindset and how positivity breeds positivity. So it stands to reason that being encouraging is essential. In the early days, that first sale or first potential prospect can be really important to your new recruit, and it's important to recognise their achievements, big and small. So it's amazing the difference a few carefully chosen words can make to someone's mindset. Maybe they've had a one-to-one, but that person then didn't sign up. The first time you meet that dead cert who then doesn't sign up, it can leave you feeling a bit disheartened. So encouraging your team member by telling them that it's fantastic they got a person to that point of watching a BP or meeting with you. Explain the compound effect and that maybe that person is, as you know, not joined now, but maybe they'll continue watching your journey and they will do in the future. And refocus them on their other prospects, their other targets and their other goals this month. So keeping them encouraged will keep them engaged in their business, which will keep them successful in continuing to grow their business, which will only be the biggest benefit to you and them. So there's loads of things you can do to be encouraging. A little bit of healthy competition between your own team. I know Abby puts on incentives for us, but you can put on your own as well. Incentive targets if you want to. Team Facebook pages, so group pages and things. Rewards and recognition, so I do a little PowerPoint slide every month or so. It's something I'm going to keep doing now that my team's grown a little bit, just to recognise the good things that people are doing, and then that will obviously spur them on to keep doing them and hopefully encourage those that see it to start doing them. And popping posts on Facebook. So All Stars is a massive page. If you pop a post up saying, you know, well done to this person who's done 4 case credits in their first week or something like that, it's going to be really uplifting for that person to know that 1,000 other people are seeing them get that recognition. If that person has then got prospects, it also will let people see that, you know, that person being recognised in that way and think, okay, wow, maybe I do want to join that person who's being externally recognised for being great by other people. So knowing when to ask for help is just a quick one really. Just becoming a mentor doesn't make you instantly an encyclopedia. You'll be surprised how much respect can be gained from a person if you say you don't know the answer to that question. I don't know best how to answer that, as long as you follow it up with saying I know someone who will. So no one likes to feel like they're being fluffed about an answer. If you genuinely don't know the answer to something, just say I don't know how to get that. I don't know how to do that best, but let me find out why. And obviously we're really lucky in that we've got a massive network of people on All Stars, on the training pod, on the Open Biz page, on the A team, on Louise's team. We are part of such a massive network support. You can either direct that person to where they'll find the help, or you can go and get the help and come back to your downline. So don't assume that you know everything. You really don't. And along with that goes use your upline. So this sounds a bit dodgy, but what it means is to remember that it's not just you and your team member, it's you and your team member and your mentor and all the people above them. So that's why Forever is great. We're part of a massively supportive network, especially in a team like All Stars where we have got such brilliant tools available to us. Use them. Your mentor is a mentor. And at some point they will have been in a position where they got their first team member, so they'll know exactly what you're going through. So use them, go along to your launch, get them to go along to your downlines launch, use your first members one-to-one. Use your upline story to inspire on top of your own story. So I know when I first started, I found it quite difficult to say to people, come and join this business. You know, it's going to allow me to leave this job I'm currently doing, which you know I'm doing because you're sat at work with me doing it. What it was great to do was to be able to refer to Abby and Abby's story. Quite personally for me, because I knew Abby and that a lot of the people I was talking to had also worked with Abby in the past, and we did all used to do the same day job, and now obviously Abby's got this amazing life. But Abby's not a one-off. You know, there are so many people that you can use, from Jane Leach being a millionaire off the back of this business, right the way down to the people that are now coming through as managers and are putting stories up on All Stars about being able to leave their day job. So use your upline and the wider team to inspire the people that you are going to be taking on. Creating a community and using your downline. So use your own Facebook group, get your own messages going, your own group messages, do your own team sizzles, make your own videos. Use your downline to bounce ideas off things, so no one knows everything. Only in the last couple of months I've been educated by my own downline, so people like Bev, who are far more technical than me, showed me how to do the scheduled posts so that I could just make sure that my business lifestyle page was always active without me having to be sat at the laptop at specific times during the day. I didn't know that before. So like I say, becoming a mentor, it doesn't instantly make you an encyclopedia. You could find some real diamonds in your downline that have got far more experience either in technology or in the business industry, in the beauty industry. All bounce ideas off of each other. You can all bring something to the table. And in that regard, build a community. So I've got a group chat sorry, that I do with my team. It's now got Nicholas James's team and Natalie's team in there, and we use that just as a bit of a morale boost. If any of us have got any questions, we use that in the way that Abby suggested, to branch off, and now whenever we add somebody to All Stars, that person will pop a message on saying, hey, I've just added someone to All Stars, could you all comment? And it gives you a little group of people, a bit like a go-to people. If you are a mentor with quite a small team, I've personally found this really, really helpful. So sometimes it can seem a bit silly doing a whole video for 2 people if you've only got 2 people on your team, whereas if you can share that with another mentor and their team, and you can meet up with those, so instead of just 2 of you having a team sizzle, there'll be 6 of you. It's really, really useful. So buddy up if you can, and build a community with your own team, which will only grow as your team get team, and so on. And just a few more points there about supporting each other. So the only way to support each other is to lean on each other's strengths at the same time. So you'll all bring something to the table, like I say. And be organised. So when I first contacted a couple of people about how to be a good mentor, one of the unanimous responses was to be organised. So organisation is key to pretty much every topic you will ever do a training. But from a mentor's perspective, your 80-20 business, so concentrating on 80% of the business and 20% of your team, you will only do that if you're organised. So make sure you, in your monthly and weekly plan, you can organise where you're going to spend time on your team and where you're going to spend time on your own business. I've got these records, which I do. I'm happy to share them. They are actually on my group, on my groups page, so that you can keep a record of your one-to-ones. Make sure that you can see where your team's case credits are coming from. So make sure you can see where every single person's case credits are coming from. And then I always underestimate that to make sure that you know where you're going to be by the end of the month. And knowing your team members' goals and targets. So that's so important. I can't express to you how important that is. And it is something that we'll come on to a little bit later on. So what I do is when someone starts, I will take a copy of their short-term and long-term goals for myself. So they keep the manager book, but I will write them down myself. And that helps you to refer back to during training and things. Every time I do a one-to-one, I'll sit down and fill something like this in to say what their target case credits are this month, what they're going to do to get that done. I've also started using Abby's case credit breakdown, so I will take from them how many fit ones, how many put baskets, how many launches, online launches, word of mouth sales, recruits, and anything like that, and what they think the lowest case credits they'll generate from doing that and the highest case credits. And then throughout the month I can refer back and say to them, whether they're on track, how they're doing. It just, it really does help sort of keep them on task that month. You can use FLP.com to keep an eye on your downline. Make sure you understand how that works. So obviously as soon as you've got a team, everything that team member does will count towards your case credits. You do need to spend a little bit of time familiarising yourself with FLP.com and how that looks, because it can look as though you've got a lot more case credits than you are actually doing. You need to be looking at the personal case credits. So what you've done personally is what needs to be above 4 case credits to be considered an active team member. So you can have a team member that does 5, 6, 7 case credits personally that month. That will count towards your case credits, but unless you are active, you're not 4 case credit active yourself. It's that personal case credits that needs to be above 4. And getting personal. So I think for me this has been the biggest learning curve, but once I've got my head around it, it's actually been the most useful concept to have gained an understanding in. So first of all, and for those of you that don't know, that's from The King and I. And after I did this webinar, that's all I'd got in my head for days and days. So you'll approach this from a slightly different angle for each team member, depending upon whether you had a relationship with them before they became a business owner. So if you were already friends with that person, you'll have a good idea of that person's personality, their skills and their weaknesses. But whether they're, if they're a cold prospect, you'll come at it from a slightly different angle. So being a mentor and the Forever Living journey in general is quite a personal one. you need to make that person feel like you're putting effort into them and not just into case credits. If you stop and think about your own whys and how powerful they are in driving you, when building your own business, then it becomes really clear why finding out and understanding your team members' whys will be such a monumental thing to do. So I always do a dream board for my new team members. Holly, yours is actually still in my living room for when we were last round and you didn't go home with it. But it's really, really useful. So you can pick these up for $1.99ish from Wilko's. I use the one that I've got a corkboard on one side and a whiteboard on the other side. And what I will do is if I know that person personally, or we've already had a quick chat about the reasons they're joining the business, I'll try and find a few pics online and print them off and put them on that board just so that they've got started. So if it was that they wanted, a holiday or some more spare time, one of my team members really wanted a horse box, so I just googled horse box picture and put it on there, and that then inspires them to start doing it. So it's really, really good practice for them. When I first watched Jane Leach's videos about doing your dream board, I thought it was one of the most tackiest, sort of cheesy things going. I thought that's just not me at all. I'm not very I'm quite mindful in that I know what I want. I don't need pictures on a board to show me. But I did do it, and I put it, and it's in my hallway, and you know what, every time I leave my house and every time I come back in, I look at those pictures, and it has made a real difference to my drive. So I will come in and see that dream board and think, I'm going to get on top of replying to those messages now, I'm going to put some more sample packs together, because I see those things on my dream board. If you've gone out and spent a couple of quid and bought your team members one, and giving it out to them, it will inspire them to do it. So there's no excuse not to do it. They've not got to get around to buying one. You've got it for them. It's in front of them. In some cases, you may have been able to start them off, so they will do it. And hopefully it will have the same effect. It's also a really good opportunity to bond or connect with that person, especially if you didn't know them before. You can get them to send you a picture of their dream board once it's done, and it helps you connect with their goals. And once you connect with their goals, you can tailor with them what you do with that person. So you can tailor the incentives that you might put on or any training that you might do to maximum effect. So very similar, to the technique of finding out a new prospect's hot button and the way that we do when we're prospecting. Knowing your team members why will help you best steer that person, because you'll be able to refer back to why they're doing it. So if you've got a person that's very money driven, you can really use the training that Abby did recently, where you convert all of their case credits that you're planning for them at the beginning of the month into a monetary figure, and then they can see how much they'll earn that month, commission and bonus wise, if they do that activity. If you're looking for if someone's looking for more time with their family, you can help plan what level they'll need to get to in order to either to leave that day job that they don't like doing. If that person's looking for a holiday, you can ask them, how much does that holiday usually cost you? How much would your dream holiday cost you? And you can help them plan exactly how many of every single product they would need to sell in order to get there. And it makes everything so much more real. So case credits are a bit like they're a non-tangible object. They're this thing that we all chase after, but actually you need to get around transforming them into something real, something tangible and something believable. And by connecting with those person's goals, you will be able to do that a lot more easily. So I know how strong my why is. I know how much I want to spend time with my family. And for those people who've got children and that's what they're doing it for, I find it really easy to connect with those people. I totally get exactly why they're doing it. For other people who have different whys, I've had to try and connect myself with those whys because it's so important to your business. And in the same regard comes being adaptive to your team member. So duplication is definitely an important part of our business, and all the pre-formatted steps to manager books and forms are an invaluable tool, but it is also really important to remember that you need to account for individuality. So what I mean by that is you will create a system of your own when it comes to meeting and managing your own team, but you do need to allow for some flexibility. So there are different types of personalities, undeniably, and there are different types of people that take this business and what they will do with it. You will get those needy team members that sort of message you every hour with a question. That's absolutely fine. I don't mind that at all. I love helping people. But you will also get people that are really quite independent, that will buy their business box and just go off and won't need much input from you. I find those people a bit more difficult because I'm sort of like, hello, I am here. I'm your mentor. Do you need anything? it's amazing that they can just take that and run with that opportunity, and they are the people ultimately that will progress faster through the ranks because they're so self-driven. But if you start trying to baby those people or lead those people in the way that you would lead the needier people, you can end up actually stifling them, or I found annoying them really. So you need to adapt to your team members. And what I found is that I will now make it really clear at the beginning that I'll be guided by the team member. So just have a really frank conversation with that person and just say, look, I am here for you as much or as little as you need me. Please let me know what kind of person you think you'll be. So I have people in my team that I'll do a one-to-one with at the beginning of the month, and then I'll have a quick check-in with them halfway through, and then we'll do a bit of a review at the end of the month. I have other people that I will speak to on a daily basis to see where they're up to, because that works for me and it works for them. So just make sure that you don't try and become too rigid, and that you don't do everything in a set way, because every single person is different. So just make sure that you try and be a little bit adaptive. So there's loads and loads of information out there about the personality types. I find this really useful. I know exactly where I am on there. I'm sure most of you can guess. But there's loads of reading that you can do on this. I've just put this on quickly for you to refer to. So it's just to bear in mind when you've got a prospect, a customer, or an existing team member, if you can work out where on here they are, it will really help you to tailor training as well as one-to-ones to that person and to push them where they need to be based on what kind of person they are. And another thing is to try and find some common ground with a person. So try and find something that you can relate to. So like I say, I find it really easily to relate to people who are doing this to have more time with their children, because that's my massive why, and I know how important it is to me, so I can imagine how important it is to other people. It's also really important to try and find some common ground with everybody on your team, just so that you can build a relationship with them really. If you've got absolutely nothing in common with that person, then you're not going to be able to build a relationship with them, I don't think. So it's really important to try and find some common ground, some empathy, and make them believe that you believe in their why. So working in depth. So this is another cheesy little saying for you, that you need to prospect deep for your diamonds. So what that means is, there was a little article by Chuck Holmes, who's a really prolific MLM business owner, and what that highlights is the importance of being involved in your downline. So it's personal choice. I personally really appreciate Abby and the weight that Abby can add to my business, and I'm direct to Abby, so my downline know I'm direct to Abby, and I know that if I've got a problem or help, I can go to Abby and she will help me, but she will also extend that help out to my team. So make sure the duplication process is completed. It's really important to be involved in your downline. Otherwise, how will you know whether your direct team members have done the one-to-ones the way they're supposed to, and whether that person at the end of the day is being given the best start? So they might be a member of your team's team, and this is where it gets a bit tongue-tied, but they are a member of your team. So you need to make sure that person has had the best start, and that if they need anything, they know they can come to you as well. So don't be unobtainable to your downline. It ensures you've got the duplication right, and it ensures that they know what they're doing. Don't go too far in the other way. Also, it is also again down to personal preference. So some people can get really offended if you start interfering in their team. They really shouldn't view it like this, and it's such a shame if they do, because this whole business is a network and it's built upon your whole team. But again, use your own discretion, use personal feelings and thoughts about any given situation, but don't be afraid of getting involved in your downline to make sure that everything is going the way that it should be going. We all work for each other really. I've got members on my team that are at the same level that help and support each other. So it's common sense really that you should then get involved in your downline. Not in terms of getting involved and being nosy and telling them what to do, but just checking in every now and again, asking if they're okay and if they need anything. So this is the last slide, and it's to do with, we've gone through all the desirable attributes and qualities and things, as well as some other bits and pieces about being a mentor. And we just put this last slide together about the stages involved in being a mentor. So getting it right from the start is something that we touched on at the beginning, making sure that from the very beginning, before that person's even an actual business owner, that you've got it right. So you've not spammed them, you've given them a really good impression of the business, they're really excited to get started, and then once they are started and they've bought that box, you've set them on that right path. So you've watched all of the QLS videos about being a mentor and doing a one-to-one. You know exactly what you're doing with that person. You've connected with their goals and their whys, and you've set them off on the right path. So their Facebook is right, they can see your Facebook is right, and they're ready to start with their launch straight away. Do not waste a single second of any day. There's that little saying of don't count the days, make the days count. So for every day since that person has bought a box, what have they done? And it's about getting the duplication right at the first meeting, because what you do with them, they will ultimately go on to do with their team members. So if you've signed them up and not done a great deal with them, that's how they're going to view it, and that's what they're going to do. That's going to impact on your business, because their downline will become your downline. So if you've not got it right at the start, they won't get it right at the start either. So I will always buy the 5 month to manager books. I think they're like £3 for 5. They're not a lot of money at all. And all I do is I get that. And when that person gets their 5 month to manage a book, they will give it back to me. So I've got a stock of him. Or a lot of the times I will say, keep that one so that when you get your first team member, you've got a spare one, so that they can do it right. And then that's me actively encouraging them to get it right from the start as well. Engage in their goals. So, you don't have to buy them a dream board, but definitely discuss doing one with them. And be really, really interested. So this is a really exciting time when they first sign up and they've got all those hopes and dreams sort of things. Message them in a few days saying, have you filled in that page of the manager book if you're not going to do it with them? Have you sat down and thought about your goals? What are the short-term goals? So on my dream board, I've got a coat that I wanted. As a mum, 9 times out of 10 you will buy lovely clothes and shoes for the kids, make sure him indoors has got nice suits and shirts for work, and then occasionally you might replace the socks with holes in your drawer. Well, that's how things go in my house anyway, because I'm one of those people that I do put myself last. So I'd got a coat that I wanted. It wasn't even a lot of money. I think it was about £30, but for me that was a lot of money to just spend on me. I do find it quite difficult to justify splurging on myself. So I put that coat on my dream board, and do you know what? Because it was so obtainable, it was such a small thing, I was able to buy that out of my first check, out of my first bonus. A lot of us can feel quite deflated when we get that first bonus and it's not a massive amount of money, but what if that first bonus could still tick something off your dream board? It keeps that sort of momentum and that motivation going. So encourage them to put things on their dream board, big and small. So we all want that Range Rover on there, and we all want that dream home, but we also need things along the way that keep us going. So whether that's that small weekend break, whether it's a new coat, a new pair of shoes, make sure they've got real, tangible, attainable goals on there, as well as massive ones. But message them a few days after you've given them their dream board or got them to buy their own, and just say, how's it going? How's it looking? Can I see? And then once you've seen it, you can scribble a few of those down. And when you know it's coming up to bonus day, and maybe you know that they should be around the amount of money that coat or that shoes or whatever, you can send them a message and say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you that you're going to be able to tick off the first thing on there. Keep that momentum going and keep that little fire alive. Make sure that you're at their launch. If they're doing a launch, if they want you at their launch, they might be really independent and completely confident doing it on their own. So I didn't have Abby at my launch just because she was out of the country. It didn't affect doing it. But as a mentor, you need to try and make sure that you're there as much as that person wants you there. So be at their launch, be available to their prospects. So make sure that they know from the very beginning that obviously we're really lucky that we have a business presentation done most Mondays by somebody within the business, and we also have a Meet the Mentor, which is interactive, that they can do on a Tuesday. So from the very beginning, make sure that person knows that those tools are available to them so that they can be directing their prospects in the right direction from the very start. And like I say, don't be afraid to be involved in their prospects if that's what they want. Let them know that you're happy to talk to their prospects if they want you to. Because if they've only been in the business for a couple of weeks themselves, they can find the idea of pitching the business a little bit sort of daunting. So let them know that you're happy to do that, and so is your upline. Use flp.com, so you don't need to pay to use the 360 if you don't want to. I've only just started to do that now that my team is getting bigger and I've got layers under layers. Apart from that, just familiarising yourself with FLP to keep track of where each and individual person's personal case credits are coming from. And your mentor system, so you will find yourself able to come up with your own system. So after you've been doing it for a couple of weeks or a couple of months as a mentor, you'll find your own way of doing it. So you'll find your own way of setting out your weekly and monthly targets and teams for your targets and meetings for your team, the same way as you did when you started your retail business. So some people will be super organised, some people will have loads of folders from the very beginning, a really structured weekly and monthly plan, and some people will just find another way or find their own way of doing it. So you will come up with your own way. And as your team gets bigger, obviously you can look at doing team sizzles and your own training and your own Facebook groups and things like that. What I will say is that you do need to be really, really mindful of the fact that when you've got 1 or 2 team members, there is no need whatsoever to start spending time putting on training and things like that, because you need to keep that 80-20 rule going. When your team gets a bit bigger and 2 or 3 of your team are saying that they want training in specific areas, then that's absolutely fine. You can start putting them on. But just ask yourself, that hour or half an hour or whatever it is that you've spent doing that video or that presentation, did you really need to do that when, as part of All Stars, there is a video on absolutely everything available to your team members? So use them, because it just doesn't make any sense from a time planning perspective to start putting training on topics where there's already training on it. So unless you're doing something really specific, like recently I've done a couple of videos on retailing in the last 10 days of the month, because that was something that myself and Natalie's team got together and we're really pushing, we are really pushing for a massive month in October. Apart from that, use the videos that your upline have put on for you, because that's why they've spent the time doing it. So it's great feeling to be able to do your own training. It really does bring a new aspect to the business, a new angle on it. And it's something that you can really enjoy, especially if you've come from a managerial background or a people person background. It can be a really fulfilling thing to do your own training, but just have a bit of a reality check with yourself and think, if you're not at 4 case credits yet, why are you spending time making training for your team? Because there's no way they're going to be 4 case credit active if you're not. So use the time you've got wisely. Definitely, as your team gets bigger, start doing team sizzles. Meeting up as a team can be great for morale, for your team to all meet each other if they've not all met each other yet. The same as a Facebook group. But you need to be really honest with yourself as to the time that's taken out of your own business if you're not at 4 case credits and you're not doing that 80-20 rule, especially if you've only got a really small team. So hopefully that's really helped to give you an insight into what's involved in being a mentor, a bit of a reality check where one's needed in terms of what's expected of you and what you need to be doing for yourself consistently, even though you've got a growing team. If anyone's got any questions or feedback, obviously feel free to message me. I'll pop the links to the videos that you need underneath this video, and hopefully that will help everyone to know a little bit more about how to be a mentor effectively. Because I know it's something that I struggled with personally when I started. So if everyone can start, again, duplication, if everyone can start off of being the best mentor rather than fumbling their way through how to do it best, then hopefully I've helped somebody.